Good afternoon, Jackson Middle School families. This is Dan Boland, the principal here at Jackson Middle School, and we wanted to make sure we got some information out before spring break officially started about what our all-in together plan is going to look like when we return on Monday, April 5th. We're very excited to have students back all together when we come back in April, but we wanted to take some time to just kind of talk through what the procedures are going to look like and how we're going to make this the safest environment as possible while still being very excited to have everybody back at school. We have been busy trying to make sure everything is all set, ready to go. And ultimately, the biggest thing I will say that the only thing we really want to be different on April 5th versus anything else we've been doing this year is that we know we're just going to have more students in the building. Everything else that we have done all year long in terms of sanitization and trying to keep people as distanced as possible and following all of those procedures, we want to continue to have happen. So that is the biggest understanding that we're going into this with, is trying to make sure that we still understand that the pandemic is still going on, but we're excited that we can move forward into what we've got going on right here. Just a couple quick items. The custodians are still going to be coming around like we always have been, twice a day during the school day to sanitize high-touch areas. We are still sanitizing nightly, whether that be with the fogger machine or hand sanitizing desks and flat surfaces and things like that. And then we're also going to have plexiglass dividers for desks available should they be needed, for desk areas and things like that for any classrooms that feel like we would need to have those be there. The class is going to look the same way it's been. It's going to have some more students in there. So we're still distancing to the greatest extent possible in all of our classes. We're still going to have sanitation stations with hand sanitizer spray and paper towels. Students are asked to sanitize on their way in and on their way out. And then we're going to ask that have students stay in their assigned seats that the teachers will assign. We are still not assigning lockers, so we should still be able to get from class to class as quickly as possible, so that way we are avoiding crowds in the hallways. So we will have spaces for that in the classroom as well, for book bags either on the backs of chairs or in tables and things like that. So that will be what our classrooms look like. We have altered the bell schedule just a little bit. We have added 3 minutes in between class periods instead of 2. We're still not going to lockers, so hopefully it's still just a point A to point B travel, but we know that with more students in the building, there might be just a little bit more crowding. We want to make sure that students have time to get there. But again, with just 3 minutes, and our goal is to avoid crowds at all costs, we are just asking students to go straight from one class to the other without stopping, and that's why our bell schedule is the way it is. To accommodate that, we've shortened our homeroom IE period, but we've also lengthened our lunch periods to 40 minutes instead of 30 to try to accommodate getting 2 groups of lunches in, so that way we can still stay socially distanced in the lunchroom as well. And we'll talk more about that later on. And then the calendar has been updated on the Southwestern City Schools website, and you can get that link down here, just showing that we are all in every school day instead of blue and green. But we still have blue and green days possible should we ever have to go back to that schedule. We hope we don't have to. At the same time, we're also getting ready for construction to start on our new wing here at Jackson Middle School. As you should hopefully recall, we are getting 4 new middle schools for the other 4 buildings, and Jackson is getting an addition added on. So you can kind of see a sketch here that we are having a 2-story addition added on to the south end of our building where our buses drop off. We are also adding on a auxiliary gym space in the northeast corner of our building as well. So that process is going to start in April. We're not sure whether we're going to see heavy duty construction happening right away or just some prep work, but that will start happening in April. So you'll start to see that happening. And down here is a little bit of a sketch as to what that addition might look like, including a covered walkway that people will be able to enter and exit into our south entrance that we use right now. Because of this, though, our south entrance is not going to be able to be used for arrival and dismissal as easily as possible in the mornings and afternoons. So in the mornings, we are asking students to go either into the west entrance, which is at the far end of the building, and or the band ramp doors by the cafeteria and the band, especially if students have instruments, they can go in those doors. We've been practicing this the last couple of weeks, so students are starting to get used to it. It's going to be a lot more visually remembered next in April, because you're going to start to see fences and things like that getting put around here. So, and then we just want to remind parents that if you happen to show up after 9:10 when we start, all of these sides of the doors lock. So we want students to be dropped off at the front entrance on the side closest to Holton if they arrive from 9:10 or later. You do not have to come in with them. We can get them signed in, but just please drop them off on the front side of the building. Students with instruments, like I said, you'll go in those band ramp doors and drop your instruments off in the band room. If track athletes, if you've got equipment, you can still drop stuff off in the locker room over there as well. So that nothing changes with that. We're just changing the doors that we're coming in. Parent drop off, we're going to do the same thing as we have been. However, construction is going to be taking over the closest part of the parking lot. So if it's not done right away in April, sometime during April, the front half of this parking lot is going to be shut down for parking, for construction, for staging and things like that. So it's even more important that we want students or we want families to pull as far forward in this lane as we can to drop off. And especially now that students are going to be able to enter in this west area of the building, if we can pull as far forward as possible to let students in on that side, that would help keep the traffic flowing as best as we can. So please do that. And we also want to avoid coming in this front lane because that's where buses are going to be dropped off. Breakfast is still available. We're still doing grab and go. So if you want to grab your breakfast and go on to your first to your homeroom, that's what we're asking students to do. But that is still available. And food distribution is still available for students that are in the VLA. But thankfully, we're back in school 5 days, so the rest of us don't have to worry about pre-ordering food. But this is an opportunity for us to remind everybody that due to a federal grant, middle school lunch is free. You do not have to pay for your first lunch. But if you're paying for snacks or extra milks or things like that, those do cost. But the basic lunch is free at this point. So make sure that you're taking advantage of that. In the hallway, we're doing the same things that we have been the whole time. Please stay as far to the right as possible and keep moving. The goal is to just not have any groups of students gathering. So hopefully that stays true in April, just as it has been all year long. Same with stairwells. We want to follow the arrows and go up the one-way stairs as best we can, especially in the big blue stairs in the middle of the building. And then same thing with the restroom in the media center. We want to stay separate and not avoid crowds in the restroom and in the hallways and things like that. Attendance, please help us with calling in your child if your child's going to be absent. The attendance line is listed here at 801-8884. Please let us know that, and we will continue following the same attendance protocols. And then should there be issues with close contacts and quarantines, we will continue to follow the same procedures that we have been. None of those things are different than they have been for the last few weeks. So we want to make sure that we're following all of those expectations. If you need to pick your child up early, again, the best way to do it is to send a note signed by the parent and bring it to the office in the morning, and we will get a note for the student to say that they have an out-of-building pass at the correct time, and then the child will be sent out to the car once your time is ready to go. If you're picking up your child in the afternoon, and especially if it was unexpected, or if you had to if you're picking up your child and you weren't able to do an out-of-building pass, just make sure you also have your ID ready, because we need to make sure that the correct person is picking up. Or if for some reason you need somebody else to pick up other than the parent or guardian, please let us know who that person is ahead of time, so that way we can ask them for the correct ID as well. We will still be very carefully watching our symptoms, and we're asking parents to continue to do symptom screeners at home. So please make sure that you're following these same protocols that we have been all year, and do not send your child to school if they are sick. We will do a daily symptom screener just like we have been, and checking temperatures if we need to, and then sending students home if they are showing any symptoms. This also is true if a sibling is showing symptoms. We need everybody to stay home in the home unless there is a negative COVID test. So the same rules apply when we're all back in as we have been all year long. The biggest concern is lunch, because we've got twice as many students in here, but the way that we have handled this is that we're still going to eat in our blue and green groups. So like I said earlier, we've extended the lunch period to be able to give students time to eat in 2 shifts, much like they used to in intermediate school. So we have students eating in a first half shift. The blue students will eat first. They will eat for approximately 20 minutes or so, and then they will go to recess the last 20 minutes, either in the gym if the weather is not conducive, or outside if the weather is conducive. So that's what we will do on our lunch days. And then the green students will be exactly the opposite of that. They will report to the gym for recess or go outside if the weather's good, and then they will eat the second half of lunch. The process of getting lunch is exactly the same. The students have already been assigned seats where they've chosen to where to sit, and now we've asked them to stay there. So all of that stuff is the same. We're still eating in 2 groups, so that way we don't have upwards of 200, 250 kids eating at the exact same time. So here's pictures of the lunch plan. That should not be any different for anybody. And like we said, recess will happen in the shift that the students are not eating. We do want to remind everybody that masks are expected when they're on recess, whether that's inside or outside. There are no exceptions to that. The only exception to masks in the building is when students are actively eating and drinking during lunch. Even if a student finishes early, they should put their mask back on. That is an expectation for all students. And then dismissal will happen the same way we always have been. We just have a lot more students to dismiss at the same time. So we will begin dismissal at 3:50. We will release walkers and athletes, especially track is going on right now. We have a large number of track athletes, so we will dismiss them first at 3:50. Then we will dismiss anybody getting picked up, and then we will dismiss students riding a bus last. Again, with the parking lot, parents, we're asking you to park in that parking lot. Unfortunately, we've only got half of the space available, so we may also open up the lane so we can pull as far forward as we can to have a lane of cars to be able to pick up students and the parking lot. But what we can't have is that lane go back into the driveway from Mallow. So we'll have somebody out there helping to move people along. And if we get to the end of the lane and we have to move cars into the parking lot, we'll be asking you to do that so we don't block buses from getting in and we don't block traffic on Mallow. So please just work with any adult that's out there so we can help with that. But bus riders will be released last, and then students will go out the west door or the band door just like they did when they were coming in. So that's basically everything. We just want to remind everybody that wearing your mask, sanitizing, socially distancing, washing hands are the same rules as we come back as they have been all year. We've been very proud of the students all year long. We have not had very many issues at all with compliance with those expectations, and we look forward to finishing the school year with not having many issues with that as well. We've had as strong a school year as I think is at all possible this year. It's been great, and we look forward to finishing the school year strong. So please make sure that we follow these expectations as we go forward. So we again appreciate having everybody back. We are looking forward to that. We want to see everybody on April 5th for a final push for the end of the school year. And we hope you enjoy your spring break leading up to that. And we will see you on Monday, April 5th. Thank you so much. Have a great day.